There are moments when heaven moves in ways that defy human logic. This is one of those moments. As a chosen one, you are stepping into a divine shift that others around you may not understand. What God is preparing for you won't look ordinary, it will feel sudden, powerful, and undeniable. Even those closest to you may doubt it, but this blessing is not man-made. It is heaven-funded, and it is your time to receive. Divine provision rarely follows the patterns people expect, and that is why it often goes unrecognized at first. As a chosen one, you are not meant to live limited by what the world calls realistic. God's provision operates on a higher level, one that is not restricted by economy, background, connections, or timing. When heaven decides to release a blessing into your life, it does not need permission from circumstances. It doesn't wait for approval from people, and it certainly doesn't depend on what others think is possible for you. This is why many around you may struggle to understand what is happening. They are used to seeing results that come from effort alone, from predictable systems, from step-by-step processes. But what God is doing in your life will not follow those rules. There will be moments when the doors that open for you seem too perfect, too aligned, and too sudden to be explained logically. Resources may appear from unexpected places. Opportunities may find you without you chasing them. Favor may rest on you in a way that others cannot explain, and that is because it is not meant to be explained, it is meant to be recognized spiritually. Divine provision is not about luck, it is about alignment. It is about being in the right place, spiritually, where God can trust you with what He is releasing. Sometimes this provision comes after seasons of silence, struggle, and waiting. You may have felt overlooked, delayed, or even forgotten. But in reality, those seasons were preparing you. God was building your character, strengthening your faith, and positioning you so that when the blessing arrived, you would be ready to handle it. What feels sudden to others is actually the result of a process they never saw. Heaven has been working behind the scenes long before anything became visible. This kind of provision also challenges your own mindset. You may question if you truly deserve it or if it is really happening. But this is where faith becomes essential. You are not called to understand every detail, you are called to trust the source. When God provides, it is intentional, purposeful, and perfectly timed. It is not random, and it is not accidental. It carries a deeper meaning connected to your calling and your journey. In the end, divine provision is a reminder that your life is not controlled by earthly limitations. It is guided by a higher authority that sees beyond what you can see. What God releases into your hands is a reflection of His power, His promise, and His plan for you. Even if others doubt it, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else, you are witnessing something real, something that can only come from Him. There are moments when the blessings entering your life will feel so sudden and unexpected that even the people closest to you won't know how to process them. As a chosen one, what God is about to do in your life won't follow a slow, predictable build-up that others can easily track. Instead, it may appear as a rapid shift of doors opening all at once, opportunities aligning without warning, and breakthroughs happening in ways that seem almost unbelievable. To those watching from the outside, it may look like everything changed overnight, but what they don't see is the spiritual groundwork that has been laid over time. People are used to measuring success by visible effort and gradual progress. They expect to see the struggle, the climb, and the steps in between. So when something extraordinary happens in your life without the expected timeline, it creates confusion. Some may question it, others may doubt it, and a few may even feel uncomfortable witnessing it. Not because your blessing is wrong, but because it challenges their understanding of how life is supposed to work. They may try to explain it away, minimize it, or compare it to their own experiences. But what God is doing in your life is not meant to fit into their framework. These sudden blessings are not random events. They are divine interruptions, moments where heaven steps in and accelerates what would normally take years. What feels instant is actually the result of unseen preparation, quiet prayers, and consistent faith. You may have been building, growing, and enduring in silence, and now the results are appearing all at once. This is why it feels shocking, not just to others, but even to you. It's the manifestation of something that has been in motion for a long time, just hidden from view. It's important to stay grounded during these moments. When everything begins to shift quickly, it can be overwhelming. You may feel excitement, disbelief, and even a bit of fear. But this is where your faith must remain steady. God is not trying to confuse you, He is revealing what He has been preparing. The speed of the blessing does not make it less real, it makes it more divine. It shows that the source is not human effort alone, but something greater working on your behalf. Not everyone will celebrate with you, and that's okay. Some people will need time to catch up to what God is doing in your life. Others may never fully understand it. But your role is not to convince them, it is to walk in what has been given to you with confidence and humility. These sudden shifts are a sign that you are stepping into a new level, one that cannot be explained by ordinary means. In the end, the shock others feel is simply a reflection of how powerful and unexpected God's blessings can be. What looks impossible to them is simply divine timing being fulfilled in your life. There comes a time when God begins to shift your financial season, and when that moment arrives, everything starts to change in ways you cannot ignore. As a chosen one, your life is not meant to remain in cycles of lack, delay, or constant struggle. Those seasons may have been part of your journey, but they were never your final destination. When God decides it is time for increase, He doesn't just add a little, He transforms the entire flow of your life. What once felt difficult may begin to feel effortless, and what once seemed out of reach may suddenly come within your grasp. This shift often begins internally before it becomes visible externally. Your mindset starts to change. You begin to think differently about opportunities, money, and your own value. Fear starts to lose its grip, and confidence begins to grow. You start recognizing that you are not meant to settle for survival, you are being positioned for overflow. This inner transformation is important because it prepares you to receive what God is about to release. Without it, the blessing could feel overwhelming or even be mishandled. As the shift continues, you may notice new doors opening that were not available before. Connections may come into your life that align with your purpose. Ideas may flow more clearly, and decisions that once felt confusing become easier to make. It's not just about money appearing, it's about access, alignment, and favor working together. God's provision often comes through channels you didn't expect, using people, situations, and opportunities that seem perfectly timed. However, this transition can also feel unfamiliar. Moving from a place of limitation to a place of abundance requires adjustment. You may find yourself questioning if it will last or wondering if it's too good to be true. But this is where trust becomes essential. God is not shifting you temporarily, He is moving you into a new level. The old patterns of struggle do not define you anymore. You are stepping into a different season, one that reflects growth, maturity, and divine timing. It's also important to understand that this financial shift is not just for personal comfort. It is connected to your purpose. What God places in your hands is meant to flow through you, not just to you. There is a greater reason behind the increase, whether it's to support others, build something meaningful, or fulfill a calling that requires resources. This gives your blessing depth and direction, making it more than just a moment of gain. In the end, the shift in your financial season is a clear sign that something has changed spiritually. It reflects a new level of alignment between you and God's plan for your life. Even if others don't fully understand it, you will feel the difference. The struggle that once defined your journey begins to fade, replaced by a sense of movement, clarity, and provision that can only come from Him. Your faith has been the key that unlocked what is now being released into your life. As a chosen one, it was never just about waiting, it was about believing, even when there was no visible evidence. There were moments when nothing seemed to be changing, when your prayers felt unanswered, and when giving up would have been the easier option. But you chose to hold on. You trusted God in the silence, in the confusion, and in the delays. That kind of faith does not go unnoticed. It builds something powerful in the spiritual realm, something that eventually manifests in ways you can see and experience. Faith is not just about words, it's about consistency. It's about showing up with belief even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Every time you chose patience over frustration, hope over doubt, and trust over fear, you were aligning yourself with what God had already prepared. You may not have realized it at the time, but those small, quiet decisions were creating momentum. They were opening doors that could not be forced open any other way. This is why what you are receiving now feels different. It carries the weight of everything you endured to get here. What makes this transfer supernatural is that it goes beyond human effort. Yes, you may have worked hard, stayed disciplined, and done your part, but there are elements of what is happening now that cannot be explained by effort alone. There is a level of favor, timing, and precision that only comes from God. That is the result of faith being activated over time. It invites divine involvement into your life, allowing things to happen that logic alone cannot produce. There were also moments when your faith was tested, times when it felt like everything was going in the opposite direction of what you believed for. Those were not setbacks, they were refining moments. They strengthened your trust and proved that your faith was genuine, not conditional. Anyone can believe when things are going well, but it takes a different level of faith to keep believing when nothing makes sense. That is the kind of faith that unlocks greater things. Now that the results are becoming visible, it's important to recognize where it all started. This is not luck, and it is not coincidence. It is the direct outcome of your willingness to stay connected to God even when it was difficult. Your faith created a pathway for this blessing to reach you. It positioned you in a way that allowed God to move freely in your life. As things continue to unfold, your faith will still be needed, not just to receive, but to sustain and grow what has been given to you. What you unlock through belief must be maintained through the same trust that brought you here. In the end, this is more than just a reward. It is a confirmation that faith, when held onto with sincerity and strength, has the power to change everything. Not everyone will be able to recognize what God is doing in your life, and that can feel confusing at first, especially when you expect those closest to you to understand. As a chosen one, you may naturally want to share your joy, breakthroughs, and the evidence of this shift. But the reality is, when blessings come from a spiritual place, they are not always visible in a way that others can interpret correctly. People tend to evaluate things based on logic, experience, and what they have personally seen before. If your journey doesn't match those patterns, they may struggle to see it for what it truly is. Doubters don't always come from a negative place. Sometimes they simply cannot comprehend something they've never experienced themselves. They may question how things are happening so quickly, or why opportunities are aligning in your favor without what they consider the normal process. To them, it may seem unrealistic or even suspicious. But what they are missing is the spiritual dimension behind it, the quiet work that God has been doing long before anything became visible. They are only seeing the outcome, not the preparation. There may also be moments when their doubt feels discouraging. When people you care about fail to acknowledge your growth or dismiss what you're experiencing, it can create a sense of isolation. You might feel the need to explain yourself or prove that what's happening is real. But this is where wisdom becomes important. Not everything needs to be explained, and not everyone is meant to understand your journey at every stage. Some things are meant to be experienced, not justified. It's also important to stay grounded and not allow doubt from others to plant seeds within you. Just because someone else cannot see it does not mean it isn't real. Your confidence should not come from external validation, but from your connection with God. He is the source of what is happening, and His understanding is greater than any human opinion. If you start measuring your progress based on what others believe, you risk losing clarity on what has truly been given to you. At the same time, this is a test of humility. When you know that what you have received is from God, there is no need to argue or defend it aggressively. Let your life speak for itself. Over time, consistency will reveal the truth. What once seemed unbelievable to others will eventually become undeniable. And even if some people never fully accept it, that does not take away from its reality. In the end, the inability of others to recognize God's hand in your life is not a reflection of you, it is a reflection of their perspective. You are walking in something that goes beyond human explanation, and not everyone is equipped to see it clearly. Your responsibility is not to convince them, but to remain aligned, grateful, and focused on the path that has been set before you. What is coming into your life is not random, and it is not just for temporary comfort. It is deeply connected to your purpose. As a chosen one, every blessing you receive carries intention behind it. This wealth, this increase, this shift you are experiencing is not separate from who you are called to be. In fact, it is a tool, a resource, and a responsibility that aligns directly with your higher calling. God does not release something of value without a reason, and in your case, there is a bigger picture unfolding that goes beyond personal gain. For a long time, you may have been focused on survival, getting through challenges, overcoming obstacles, and simply trying to stay strong. But now, the focus is shifting. You are being moved from a place of endurance into a place of impact. The resources being placed in your hands are meant to support that transition. Whether it's creating something meaningful, helping others, or stepping into a role that requires influence and leadership, this wealth has a purpose attached to it that is far greater than material success alone. This is why alignment matters so much. When your heart, your intentions, and your actions are in sync with God's plan, everything begins to flow more naturally. You start to see how different pieces of your life connect. Opportunities are no longer just opportunities, they become assignments. Financial increase is no longer just about having more, it becomes about doing more with what you've been given. This perspective changes the way you handle what is coming, allowing you to move with clarity instead of confusion. You may also notice that as this alignment strengthens, certain things begin to fall away. Distractions, unhealthy patterns, or even relationships that no longer fit your direction may start to fade. This is not loss, it is refinement. God is making space for what truly belongs in your life at this level. The more aligned you are, the easier it becomes to recognize what supports your purpose and what does not. At times, the responsibility that comes with this can feel heavy. You may wonder if you are fully ready to carry it. But it's important to remember that God does not place something in your hands without also equipping you to handle it. The same way He prepared you during your difficult seasons, He is now preparing you to manage and multiply what you are receiving. Growth does not stop when the blessing arrives, it continues through how you use it. In the end, this wealth is not just a reward, it is a confirmation. It confirms that you are stepping into alignment with something greater than yourself. It reflects a level of trust that has been placed on you, and with that comes both opportunity and responsibility. When you understand that what you have is connected to your purpose, you begin to move differently. You stop seeing it as just provision, and you start recognizing it as part of a divine plan that is unfolding through your life. There is a direct connection between your obedience and the overflow that is now entering your life. As a chosen one, it was never just about believing, it was about acting on what God was guiding you to do, even when it didn't make sense. Obedience often requires you to move without having all the answers, to take steps without knowing the full outcome, and to trust that God's direction is leading you somewhere greater. Those moments when you chose to listen, to follow, and to stay aligned were not small decisions, they were defining ones. Spiritual obedience is not always easy. There were likely times when you were asked to let go of something you were comfortable with, to walk away from situations that felt familiar, or to take paths that others didn't understand. It may have felt like you were losing at the time, like you were giving up opportunities or delaying your progress. But in reality, you were being redirected and positioned. Every act of obedience was clearing a path, making room for something better, something more aligned with your purpose. What you are experiencing now as overflow is not accidental. It is the result of those choices adding up over time. When you obey God, you place yourself in alignment with His will, and that alignment naturally creates flow. Things begin to connect in ways that feel effortless. Doors open without force, and what once required struggle begins to move with ease. This is not because life suddenly became simple, but because you are no longer working against your divine direction, you are moving with it. There is also a level of trust that comes with obedience. God entrusts more to those who are willing to follow His guidance. When you showed that you could be trusted in smaller, quieter moments, you were being prepared for greater responsibility. The overflow you are now stepping into is a reflection of that trust. It shows that you have reached a point where what is being given to you can be handled, managed, and used in the right way. At times, obedience may have made you feel isolated. Others may not have understood why you made certain decisions or chose certain paths. You may have questioned yourself, wondering if you were doing the right thing. But now, as things begin to unfold, there is clarity. You can see how those decisions shaped your journey and brought you to this point. What once felt uncertain now makes sense in a deeper way. As the overflow continues, obedience remains important. It is not just what brought you here, it is what will sustain and multiply what you have received. Staying connected, listening closely, and remaining aligned will ensure that this season continues to grow rather than fade. In the end, the abundance you are experiencing is not just a blessing, it is evidence that obedience, even when it is difficult, leads to a life that flows with purpose, direction, and divine increase. What is coming into your life is not just another moment or temporary breakthrough, it is a powerful confirmation of your calling. As a chosen one, there have likely been times when you questioned your path, your purpose, and whether you were truly set apart for something greater. The delays, the struggles, and the periods of uncertainty may have made you doubt if you were on the right track. But what you are about to experience will answer those questions in a way that is clear and undeniable. This next phase is not random success or coincidence. It carries a deeper meaning that connects directly to who you are meant to be. The opportunities, the resources, and the shifts happening around you are all pointing in the same direction. They are aligning with your purpose. It's as if everything is starting to make sense at once. The things you went through, the lessons you learned, and the strength you developed are now coming together to support what is being revealed in your life. When something is truly connected to your calling, it feels different. There is a sense of clarity, even if everything is moving quickly. You may not have every detail figured out, but deep down, you recognize that this is right. It resonates with you on a level that goes beyond logic. That inner confirmation is just as important as the external results. It reassures you that you are not just receiving something good, you are stepping into something that was meant for you. This confirmation also brings responsibility. When you realize that what you have is tied to your purpose, you begin to approach it differently. You become more intentional, more focused, and more aware of how you use what has been given to you. It's no longer just about enjoying the moment, it's about building something meaningful with it. This mindset shift is what separates temporary success from lasting impact. There may still be challenges ahead, but they will feel different from before. Instead of questioning your direction, you will face them with a stronger sense of identity. You will know that you are where you are supposed to be, and that confidence will carry you through whatever comes next. The doubt that once held you back will begin to fade, replaced by a deeper trust in God's plan for your life. In the end, what is unfolding is more than just a blessing, it is a sign that you are aligned, that you are chosen, and that you are stepping fully into your calling. Even if others don't fully understand it, you will feel the truth of it within yourself. This is your confirmation, your evidence, and your moment to move forward with purpose, knowing that what is happening is exactly what was meant to happen.